An encounter with an alien. Let's read about the writer's experience when she met an alien in her dreams. It was a cold day in November. The winters had just set in. Rekha had been outdoor all day shopping. It was almost nightfall, and the shadows were playing against each other as she moved across a street-lit pavement. Rekha was feeling tired and hungry. She had not eaten anything at the food court at the mall because she wanted to use all her money for shopping. Hunger was making her irritated. Rekha had almost reached the entrance door of her home when suddenly there was a bright light. The whole house was illuminated with it. It looked like someone had turned on hundreds of light bulbs at the same time. Rekha dropped her bags and shielded her eyes from the light. Slowly, the light dimmed. She could not make head or tail of what was happening. She uncovered her eyes and looked up. There was an unidentified flying object on the roof of her house. There was no possibility of anybody mistaking it for anything else. It was a spaceship. It looked exactly like the ones shown in the comic books. Rekha was in shock. She looked left and right, trying to see if there was someone there. Just then, she felt a tug on her skirt. She looked down and saw a humanoid-like small green man tugging at her skirt. It had strange enormous eyes straining to see, eyelids fluttering as though they were myopic. Its eyes were watery with rainbow shades floating in them in strange patterns. Rekha felt drawn towards the mesmerizing eyes as if she was pulled towards them. It was inexplicable. The green alien was wearing a glowing golden metal helmet. Rekha was not sure if it was a helmet or the actual head of the alien. There were 3 antennas or tentacles coming out of the helmet or head. The tentacles were changing colors from shades of green to shades of red, just like the traffic lights. Rekha was looking at the alien and the alien was looking at Rekha. They found each other fascinating. Its head was oblong, shaped like a rugby ball. Its mouth looked like it had a perpetual smile. His head was not still. It was nodding all the time. Rekha was relieved that it did not look like some of the reptiles from the comic books. It took some time for Rekha to gather her courage. She closed her eyes, said a prayer, and then she opened them. She looked directly into the alien eyes and said, "Hi!" The alien nodded once in Rekha's direction. There was no way of knowing if it had understood anything. The alien had not attacked Rekha, nor had it tried to scare her. So, Rekha's courage increased. She extended her invitation and asked if it needed food or something to drink. The alien continued nodding without answering. Rekha tried a different tactic. She placed one hand on her stomach and said, "Food." Then she placed her hand on the alien's stomach and said, "Food." She was surprised at the feel of his stomach. It felt as if it was made of some metal. She prodded softly and a metallic sound was produced. It was as if the alien's stomach was a drum. The green alien just looked at her and nodded again. Rekha was no longer scared. Her fear turned into curiosity. She almost started enjoying herself. The alien did not appear to be harmful. Rekha really wanted to communicate with it. In the movies and comic books, the aliens were shown to abruptly take off without any reason. She was worried that this alien would also do the same, without giving her a chance to communicate. Rekha once again tried to communicate with it. She prodded its stomach and said, "Food." She followed this by making a munching sound. Then she made a gulping sound and said, "Drink." The alien's response was same. He kept on nodding in understanding. Rainbow hues were widely swirling in its eyes. The sight was truly spectacular, but the level of understanding was in question. Rekha was not willing to give up. She took out a Tetra Pak of mango fruity from one of her shopping bags that she had dropped earlier. She punctured the silver blocker and offered it to the little green man. The little green man was in his own world. He just kept on grinning and nodding. Rekha tried the same routine with pineapple, almonds, a mango, a banana, and even a packet of cloves. There was no change in the little green man. It continued to grin and nod. Rekha tried to offer him a packet of red chilies, sambar masala, top ramen noodles, but to no avail. Words like kitchen, breakfast, roti, rice, etc. made absolutely no sense to the alien. Or maybe they did, but there was no reaction at all. Rekha tapped the green man's tummy couple of times just for fun. She heard the same metallic noises of an empty drum. By now, utterly befuddled, Rekha started questioning her own sanity. Dreaming about a little green man was fine, but actually looking at one was at best questionable. Where were the neighbors? They should have seen the bright light too. At least somebody would have seen the big spaceship parked on the roof of her house. It was not exactly invisible. It had dimmed its lights, but it was still there. From time to time, a few of the serial lights flashed on and off, reminding the world of its presence. Was she having a psychological breakdown? Or was she having a special psychic experience in which nobody else was involved? She hoped that the sighting of this humanoid was not some sort of change in electromagnetic energy in its immediate vicinity or some sort of reaction to something. Rekha once again invited the green man inside the home. Then she took few steps forward and began walking towards the door. The little green man was still holding her kameez. It was beside her and not walking. It was somehow floating in the air. Rekha opened the door of her house and stepped in. But the alien did not accompany her. It looked towards the spacecraft and made a series of beeps and static sounds. There was a response from the craft. The alien turned towards Rekha and started grinning and nodding non-stop while looking straight at her. Then he went ahead and prodded Rekha in her stomach while making a series of beeps and static sounds. He repeated it a few times. Finally, he turned towards the spaceship and started floating towards it. Rekha also followed it. It slowly lifted himself up towards the roof and disappeared into the spaceship. The spaceship responded by switching its lights on and off it and spiraled high into the sky. There was a crackling sound and Rekha was left alone in front of her house. The spaceship was no longer. A terrible loneliness and longing filled Rekha's heart. She hated to see the alien go. Her feet automatically guided her towards her house and towards her room. She walked as if in trance. She reached her bed and fell into it. She did not remember what happened next. Rekha found herself on the hospital bed when she woke up. The nurse gave her some breakfast, but Rekha had no appetite for it. She asked the nurse about her alien. She was met with silence. The nurse gave her a pill and Rekha once again fell asleep. On waking up, she felt no hunger. She was not willing to eat anything. All of her family members were worried about her. She was still dozing off when she heard someone say, 6. Then somebody else said, 7. Her mother shouted, 8. With this, Rekha woke up. It was 8 in the morning and Rekha was searching for her alien in her dreams.